Welcome to Robocalls, Effective Problem Management with Bill Mathews. Bill Mathews is the director of Cordell, a division of Nex-Tech located in Laverne, California. Cordell is a leading provider of network solutions for alarms management, engineering, and network operational management. Prior to the Nex-Tech acquisition, Bill served over 38 years as president and CEO of Cordell. Get ready to learn more about robocalling mitigation with Bill.
Hi, my name is Bill Mathews. I'm the managing director of Cordell, a division of Nex-Tech in California. We've been in business for 40 years, and our main thrust is to provide analytics for the telecommunications industry. Today, we'll be speaking about mitigation robocalling for the Metaswitch and Ribbon C15 switch. We use a platform named the Voice Quality Measurement for responding to requirements for robocalling and the TRACE Act, which is the Telephone Robocall Abuse, Criminal Enforcement and Deterrent Act. Signed into law 2019, and you must produce a document pertaining to the requirements and how you will respond by June 30th, 2021. There are certain items that need to be addressed, especially before September 28, 2021. You must file a report with the FCC June 30th, indicating how you'll handle robocalling and the mitigation of telemarketers and one-ring hangouts. While robocalling is not illegal, it is annoying. And I'm sure all of us have received that infamous call about your maintenance expiring on your vehicle. I get one or two a week, unfortunately, and I'm sure everyone else does too. The unfortunate part of robocalling is the people who abuse it. It's not the people who use it correctly, like pharmacies, hospitals, universities. The other thing that you need to know pertaining to analytics and the call quality is that you must have safe harbors. You cannot just block people. You must determine that they are in violation. That requires some human oversight, and which requires time and effort by the telcos. I put this slide in. It was originally at the end, and I still have it there, but I thought it was important to bring to light what we're dealing with. And by taking one of the filings that was done recently by a customer using VQM, I thought this would be appropriate to lead off the presentation. He was able to block approximately 1,250 known telemarketer numbers, many of which were out of the 876 area code, our famous Jamaica contact. Of the 5,889 calls that have been challenged, 91 of those challenged calls stated they were not a telemarketer, and they've been added to the allowed list. There are certain aspects about having an allowed list or a white list, which allows you to enter in hospitals, universities, and so forth. That helps with your report generation because it doesn't include them into your filings for the FCC. There are three major elements for robocalling, and the provider must take responsible steps. You've got to track these calls and notify the FCC. To do that, you need analytics to generate reports and to determine the calls and where they're going and who originates them. Secondly, the provider must commit to respond. You must respond with information to the FCC. You must respond to customers when they have problems or there's so many calls it's inundating their network. And then the provider must also cooperate with the investigation. And by stopping robocalling, they will provide a better service and a quality of service to their customers. Within our analytic search engine, the voice quality measurement, our call quality is concentrating on a number of different areas. A few of those areas that are more likely to result in robocalling, we check high traffic, international outbound and inbound, excessive calls, repeat calls, and one-ring hang-up fraud. One-ring hang-up fraud seems to be one of the more prevalent activities, and we'll get into that a little bit later. In addition to these specific reports that come standard with the system, We also set up alerts that will send you an email or an email to voice notification. We also allow for whitelisting so that you can add certain companies or entities to the system so that it won't run those in reports for robocalling. The one-ring scam is becoming more prevalent. It's illegal and it's unwanted. And the problem is that they'll leave you an emergency message to get you to dial back, or they'll simply hang up. This can be found by looking at excessive calls and pulling at all the calls that are less than a minute. You can then identify those numbers and generate a report. But also, this particular problem causes a customer a lot of issues, because once you call back, you're going to probably land a toll center with a high toll charge per minute. And they may put you on hold or try to get you to stay on the call for a duration exceeding more than a minute. Okay, here are examples of the one ring results from the VQM. And what we found is if they don't leave your message, they want you to return the call because you'll hit, again, a high toll center. We've found that they like to spoof numbers to make them look like the United States area codes, but also we've seen a majority of some of these calls from the 232, Sierra Leone, 809, Dominican Republic, and of course our always favorite 876 Jamaica, which we see about 70–80% of these calls coming from. So analytics within the Metaswitch and the Ribbon C15. There's two or three things that are very important with these switches. We can increase the frequency of collection. In other words, you can get it daily. You can get it as small as a 5-minute interval, or you can get it with a 1 hour. And that way you can respond to a problem almost immediately. But we're going to concentrate on incoming and outgoing international calls, excessive calls, repeat calls, a change in call volumes. In other words, a customer is normally doing 25, 30 calls, maybe a day or over a week. And now we're seeing excess of 100 to 600 calls in a day. We will zero in on those people to determine if they are in violation. Having the frequency programmable allows you to be or to have a tighter control of the call volumes that you want to search. So here are some results from the VQM module. We want to do an alarming activity. We want to notify you by either email or email to voice that there's a problem. Once you receive that, you'll want to do or make decisions as to what actions need to be taken. And after that, you need to determine if they are excessive calls, if they are repeat calls, if they're inbound or outbound international calls. And once you find that you have a problem, you need to generate, based on your best practices, how to contact the customer, how to eliminate and block the robocalling so that they get a better feel and a better appreciation for the network that you're supplying. So we're back to the slide about the amount of calls that he was able to monitor in 17 days. And in fact, this actual information is in his FCC filing. And we know that of the 70 or 80 companies using our product now, that many are adding the Cordell solution to their filing. So it is something that is being widely accepted, and we're looking forward to working with our customers to be even better at identifying robocalling. And in fact, we have a new version of our software, which will be available in June, that takes into consideration a number of new items that the telcos are facing with robocalling. They will come standard in the system, and those people who have version 1 of VQM will get version 2 at no charge. What's required to launch the VQM for the Metaswitch and the C15? Well, if you have VMware, we can load it onto a couple of cores and some RAM, which we give you that information. I'll show that to you a little bit later. But it's CentOS 7, a Linux-based software platform that we use. And if you have VMware, we'll install it in about a week. What does it take to install and launch? Well, the VM is installed, the appliance is loaded. Training takes about 2 hours, and that's mainly due to the fact that we have an extremely user-friendly dashboard that comes with this so that you can generate reports, you can generate specific information, you can include the participants that want to log into the system, and we also set up the alert for the notification part for you. Other modules available with the VQM: alarm mitigation. We can take traps, we can take logs, we can take information and generate an alarm, forward that to you via email voice, or forward it to a NOC center of your choice. The other thing we can do is store all the logs off the switch. We can do graphs, and we can do a thing called Gen Run, which is a generator run program that we monitor when your generators run. If they did not run, we generate a report on a scheduled basis to let you know that you have a problem. The graphing part is done with S&P Gets, and we can graph temperature, power, and many other things with of value. System requirements for the Metaswitch and the Ribbon C15. Whether it's a server-based system from Cordell or you're using your VMware, we'll still be using the CentOS 7 platform, and you get to select Microsoft Hyper-V, VMware OVF, or KVM. We found that most companies, actually all companies, have one of these three that we can utilize. In addition, we'll need 2 cores and 8 gigabytes of RAM, but it may go to 16 gigabytes of RAM. And the reason for that is that you could have a very active switch, or you could have multiple switches on the same platform. And new version 2 will handle both Metaswitch and the C15 at the same time. The older version still handles multiple switches of the same type, such as one customer that we have has 7 C15s on one platform. And storage, we start with 500 gigabytes. Again, if it's an active switch or you have a number of switches, we can always add to that. Another aspect of VQM is to give you graphs. These graphs are in the dashboard. This is a nice example of the dashboard to show you how easy it is to use. All the reports can be generated off of it. But the reason for this is to show you packet loss, round trip delay, jitters, and mean opinion scores, or MOS scores. And if you have CAF2 money and so forth, you have to supply MOS score. This can help you because it does it as a standard feature. The other thing to note in this is anywhere on the graph, if you click on it, it'll show you what calls constituted the issue and the spike in the graph. So this gives you an ability to see the number, copy and paste it into a report generator, and find out what the problem was and how long it's been taking place or when it started. Well, that's the end of our presentation, and we have the opportunity to take questions now. And if you'd like a copy of this presentation, please feel free to contact our group and we'll make sure you have it. Thank you very much.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for that presentation. We do have a question in the chat box for you. Does it support the Lucent 5E SS switch?
No, it does not at this particular time. It could be done easily by taking the information from the number 5 ESS and converting it to the format of the message that we have now. We've never had that request, but I believe it could be done by our engineers.
Okay, thank you. We know that if you are working on your response to the FCC right now, that it can be difficult, almost like a moving target. Is stir shaken enough, or do you need mitigation software as well?
That's a really good question. One of the things that we've run into is that the FCC continues to give us clarification on some of their statements. And the terminology of moving target is very accurate. In some cases, we found people using only the VQM as part of their mitigation to identify and to make sure that they meet all the requirements, at least the upfront requirements. But in most cases, people are looking at both stir and shaken and also the mitigation. I think it all depends on the stance that each particular company takes.
If I have a Cordell ISD that handles our alarms and network management, would it be better to install VQM on a platform or a VMware platform?
Well, it depends on the version of the ISD that you have. If you're already running CentOS 7, probably we would only need to add some RAM to it. If you're running an ISD with other functions on it and it's not CentOS 7, I would suggest just putting it on a VM platform. And the reason I say that is there's a great deal of variance in how active the switch is, how many switches you have. With a VM platform, you can start with the minimum, say 2 cores, 8 gigabytes of RAM. And if you see a problem, you can add 16 on the fly. Same thing with storage. You have the ability to add additional storage. You need to remember that we're talking about the ability to not just look at it for a short period of time, as you would with a Metaswitch SAS or some other device, say Wireshark. Wireshark requires a lot of work on the C15 from a standpoint of putting together the originating and terminating calls, where we do those automatically for you. But if you're going to do a long-term study, say like a week, 2 weeks, a month, or even a year, you would want more storage.